And no one said to me, maybe this is ADHD. Like, no one said to me. I had all of the symptoms and no one said anything to me because they didn't know. Hello, welcome to my channel. My name is Phantomling Rose. Thank you so much for clicking on the video and having a look. I guess chances are, if you're looking at this, it means that you've either been diagnosed with ADHD, or you know someone who's been diagnosed with ADHD, or you think you might have it. So I'm going to try and keep it as casual as possible, talk to you in as real a way as possible so that you can just see how you feel about it, and hopefully the information I give you, you might be able to resonate with it. So it's going to be a chill chat. Also, I just should say that I am not an expert, I'm not a doctor, I'm not a psychiatrist. I only know from my own experience what it's like to be diagnosed with ADHD. So take everything I say with a pinch of salt and use it how you want to use it, but I believe that everyone who goes through anything has their own kind of story, and you can get some information from there, so maybe the advice I can give you will help you out, who knows. My name is Katie, and in February of 2019, this year, I was diagnosed with ADHD. I am 25 years old, so my diagnosis came kind of late in life, I guess, like not as late as some people got diagnosed. I think there are people much later in life getting diagnosed now, and that's fine because it's one of those hidden disorders, right? You might not always know that you've got it, and it can take a while to so you're gonna see evidence of the fact that I have it, because I'm just gonna be moving around and like my thoughts are gonna jump all over the place, and I'm just like itching my leg, like so unrefined. Yeah, so I was diagnosed this year, and so I went through like my whole school life not knowing that I had this. I went through uni not knowing that I had this, and I only found this out when I only found this out about October of last year. So October 2018 was when I found out. So I'm gonna go right back to the very beginning, start from when I was a kid, work my way through school, talk about uni, and then talk about my diagnosis and what led me to that point. It's not going to be super organised because I'm not super organised, and also I want to keep this kind of casual, but I'll try and like split it into chunks of, you know, like time frames. Okay, so I hope you're settled in. I hope you have a cup of tea. I don't actually, but I have a pink milkshake in a Yu-Gi-Oh mug. Actually, let me just talk about what ADHD is for a start, just in case. So ADHD is a number of things. It stands for Attention Deficit Hyperactivity Disorder. They have recently added the hyperactivity. ADD was the original classification for it, but it has been kind of, I guess, proven recently that hyperactivity is true in some way in every instance of having this disorder. So if your hyperactivity is not present in your mannerisms, like it is for a lot of people who have ADHD, they will have some display of moving around and like, you know, you can't sit still, you've got to always be doing something, like the leg bounce, right? You're sat there like jiggling your leg. I do this all the time, drives people crazy. The thing is that this can be mental. Mental hyperactivity is your thoughts bouncing all the time. People describe it as having 10,000 TV channels and someone else has the remote, you know, like, and you're just jumping between these things all the time. You'll talk really fast. I'm sorry if you can't understand what I'm saying. I talk really fast sometimes, and also, you know, I do the hand gesture thing, like I'm moving around all the time. I'm loving sitting on this bed right now because it bounces. I remember I was told off once because I was doing a school play. I was like on stage and everybody was stood in a row, and I was there like just holding my like sheet. Oh, you can't really see me. I was there holding my sheet like this, going like this while I was singing. My music instructor was like, "Katie, stand still, what are you doing?" I didn't even know I was doing it. I was like, "Oh, sorry," you know, and then suddenly I'm all stiff and like, can't sing as good. I mean, I can't sing anyway, but particularly couldn't sing because I was suddenly having to concentrate on keeping my whole body rigid because I was scared that I was going to get told off for moving around. So that's the hyperactivity side of it. This can manifest in a few different ways, and it can be very, very uncomfortable. I cannot stand going to the cinema. It's so difficult for me to go to the cinema. This sitting still for 2 hours in a dark room is torture. It's torture. I'm like, I want to get up, I want to use my phone, I want to go to the toilet, like, I want to just move around. Like, unless I'm really, really engaged in in the film, I'm like restless, I'm panicky. The one cinema experience I've had which stands out far beyond the rest, which I thoroughly enjoyed from start to finish, was Into the Spider-Verse. I feel like this film is ADHD paradise. There's always something fun and exciting going on. There's always a witty back and forth with banter and dialogue, the colours, the snappy action, the cuts. So I was, and I love Spider-Man anyway, like Spider-Man's my boy. There he is. We still got a tag. There's a reason why I went into animation as a career. Like there's something about it I'm just drawn to. The snappy nature of it, the fun colours, you know, there's a lot of passion that goes into creating animated films. Most of the time. So not only do you have your attention kind of pinging all over the place, you also have this restless need of like, I gotta move all the time. Not for every single person who has ADHD, but this is what it's like for me. So I'm just going to talk about my experience, my personal experience. With ADHD, you have a difficulty regulating your attention, so the littlest things can send your mind spinning into something completely different. You will zone out and not hear a word that someone has just said to you. My boyfriend loves to talk about World of Warcraft. He loves to talk about World of Warcraft. I don't know anything about World of Warcraft because every time he starts talking about it, my brain just goes off somewhere else. I can't help it. Like I mean, I don't play World of Warcraft, but I can't help it. Like he starts talking about something, my brain's thinking about like what I want to make for dinner, or what's the next video I want to do, or just something really inane. Like maybe I watched something on YouTube earlier and my brain's just like playing over in my head. Like I have no control over where my brain is pretty much at any given moment of the day. So that's the attention side of it. It says deficit of attention, but it's really problem regulating. Most people with ADHD know this at this point. You know, everybody who talks about ADHD is like, we don't have a problem with a deficit of attention, we have a problem with regulating our attention. Okay, so I'm going to start with my childhood. Just all I remember from when I was a kid, my mum told me that I was very energetic, I was very always like curious, always getting into stuff. Not bad though, I was never like misbehaved, but I was energetic and just wanted to see what was going on with everyone all the time. I was also a show-off. I loved being the centre of attention. I always wanted to make everyone happy. Apparently I used to have like a box of buttons, and what I would do is I would go around the room giving all of my family members a button, and then I would go around and systematically take them. I feel like for me, that was my way of delegating my affections equally among my family members. Like this would have meant something to me, you know, like this was me organizing, this was me like spreading my attention and my affection among the people that were around. Running around, being energetic, I was so imaginative, I was always in my own head. Like when I was in like kind of going up into like higher levels of primary school, I daydreamed all the time. I was always daydreaming. I was happiest when I was daydreaming. I struggled to listen to the lessons. I struggled to understand what was going on. And not because I was stupid, but because I was distracted. You know, everything was distracting. My peers were distracting. Anything out the window was distracting. I could be distracted by the lines in the table. I was always thinking like, I want to be somewhere else, I want to be doing something else. I would stare out the window and just daydream for hours during school. I was happiest daydreaming. I also loved to read. I would just sit and devour book after book, and that made me happy. It was like, it was relaxing for me, it was restful, it was a distraction from all of the crazy stuff that was going on in my head. Like I had something to focus on. TV kind of did the same thing, not in the same way, but animated movies and books, those were my escapes. And then when I got older, it was video games. During primary school, I got in trouble a lot for being distracted in the classroom and distracting other people. I would just be cheeky to my teachers, because I knew that I couldn't help what I was doing, but I didn't know why at the time. So yeah, throughout secondary school, this was when it started to get very difficult. When I got into secondary school and more of it started to be independent work, you know, like we got set homework, we got set essays. Like when I was first going into a secondary school, I was so excited for this because I felt like, oh, I'm gonna be a grown-up, like writing essays? Sounds like Harry Potter, you know, very excited. And then when I realised what that actually entailed, which was great levels of self-discipline and concentration. Those are two things that ADHD people really suffer with, really struggle with, and I couldn't do it, you know? Like, I think I did maybe like 2 pieces of homework the entire time I was in secondary school. It was terrible. I was in detention all the time. I was late all the time, like constantly late. I was always getting lost. I was always daydreaming in class, again, more daydreaming. I was always doodling, because I started to get a real interest in art around the age of about 13. So I was always doodling on my notebooks. My teachers started to get really fed up with me because I would just start skipping classes. I wasn't doing anything while I was skipping classes. I'd usually go somewhere and read. Like, I know, it's just like the worst delinquent ever, right? Like, I don't want to do like your set work, so I'm gonna go like set myself some work and just go do that somewhere else. This is kind of the big thing. When I was 15, I got diagnosed with depression. You know, because I struggled concentrating, my mind was always busy, I couldn't turn my mind off. I was miserable. So the only reason I got through school was because my best friend would come to my house every morning, kick me out of bed and drag me to school. I would not have gone otherwise. Like, I could not motivate myself to do that. My sleeping pattern was dreadful. I would go to bed at like 4 o'clock in the morning most nights, and then of course I'd have to get up at 8 AM for school. Like, you can't do it. At one point during high school, I actually found out about ADHD. I read up the symptoms and I thought, this sounds like me, you know? So I actually asked my friend's mother, who was a nurse, if she thought that I had ADHD, and she said no. Like, I just believed her. And she went on to say, she was like laughing at me, you know, she was like, no, what do you mean? Of course you don't have ADHD. You're not a 10-year-old boy. Didn't really think anything else of it. And assumed that my problems were just because of me, because of my depression, because of my behaviours, because I was a failure and I was stupid and I was crazy, you know. So I came to accept that, and I started to kind of build a wall of self-deprecating humour, and, you know, like, people would be like, Katie's late again, ooh, it's late, Kate, and you just be like, yeah, it's me, always late, it's my thing, and someone invite me somewhere, and then they'd be like, you know, I'm gonna tell you it's 7, but it's really at 8, so this will just make sure that you get there on time. And on the outside, I'm just like, yeah, I see why, don't worry. And on the inside, I'm dying, because that hurts, like, so much, because I can't control this. I'm totally time blind, you know? Like, I will look at a clock and be like, oh, it's 9. And then I look again, and suddenly it's like 4:30 in the afternoon. I'm like, how the fuck did that happen? I don't know. I just don't know. It's a miracle that I got through school at all, and it was, to be honest, it was because for some of the stuff I found it interesting. I was able to focus if it was interesting. I did fairly well in art, although I really struggled to hand in my final project. You know, like, art for me is very hard. I love it, but it's hard because it requires so much concentration and sitting still in one place for long periods of time. But yeah, the reason why I got through high school was because basically my best friend like dragged me through it. And my teachers took pity on me eventually once they realised that I was really depressed, I was suicidal. I was under constant criticism, not only from other people but from myself. I would bully myself all the time, you know, you're not good enough, you're not doing enough, because I wanted to do everything. I was jealous of people who could do a lot of different things, and people who could play instruments, who could do, you know, were really good at art, people who were together, you know, put together. And like, I was only like, what, 15, 16? You don't expect a 16-year-old to have everything together, but to me it looked like everybody else did. Even people who could just hand in their homework on time. I was like, how are you doing this? I can't. I'm trying and I can't. I'm trying so hard. Sixth form was like next to impossible for me. I really struggled. I think the only way I got through that was because I found some really good friends who helped me study. The subjects that I struggled the most in were the ones where I had to do a lot of the work by myself. The only time I managed to make any headway was when I went to the library and it was like really quiet and I could put my headphones in and listen to like something like maybe white noise or something, or if someone was with me and they were helping me to do research. Like, I really struggled. No amount of planners, binders, organizations, timetables, nothing made a difference. I struggled. In the end, I think I did it all at the last minute. I know I could have done better, and this, like, my history teacher would yell at me in front of the class because he would be like, yeah, you can do better than this, but you're not trying, you don't care. And I really only got through sixth form because of the fantastic people around me. My friends are amazing. They kept me going. So, during my final couple months at sixth form, they got us to do the UCAS process. If you're in the UK, you're going to know what that is, but basically you have to go through an external organisation in order to apply for university. You can't just like apply directly to the university. So I had to fill in this UCAS application, and the way they do it is like you choose a certain number of universities to attend, and then you send it all off at the same time. So you have to get all of this in by a certain date. I did mine the day it was due, and it was only because I went to my head of sixth form, bless his heart, wonderful man. He actually sat down with me and made me do it. Like, he was like, sit your butt in this chair, you're gonna fill this in because I know that you can go to university and I know that you're gonna do good, so you're gonna submit this application. And I was like, okay. He sent off my application and I got accepted. I went to the interview and I showed the tutor who interviewed me on my work, and he didn't seem that impressed by my work, but he told me this afterwards, he was very impressed by the way that I interviewed. They accepted me in, but it wasn't actually based on the quality of my work, but I think their thought process on seeing what applicants they're going to accept is attitude comes first, we can work on the quality of your art. I went to this university for 4 years. First of all, I had amazing housemates. If they see this, hi guys, I love you. We had like a sisterly house. Like, it was, because we went into, we didn't go into like halls or housing, it was like independent private landlords renting to students. That was what made the first year for me. I remember saying to people afterwards, like, I struggled with uni, but the people is what made it for me. My first year of uni, your first year doesn't count for anything, so I kind of didn't take it that seriously, and if you want to see how seriously I didn't take it, I spent the whole month of March of 2013, I guess, playing Skyrim. I did nothing else. There's pictures of me in my dressing gown playing Skyrim for the whole of March. Like, I did not move. So in February, like, I basically went to my tutors and I told them everything that was going on. Like, I was struggling so much, I was depressed a lot of the time. I had counselling at that point, which had helped with some trauma stuff, but I didn't have any counselling for my ADHD because nobody knew what that was. And well, nobody knew what it was for me because my ADHD did not present in a visibly hyperactive way. It was very internal. I was like late for uni all the time. Like, we were supposed to go in, kind of like treat it like a 9-to-5 job. I was in like maybe a couple hours in the afternoon every like 2-3 times a week maybe. I did like none of the assignments, and I was so disappointed in myself. Like, I was sad all the time. I spent days and days in bed because like I was so depressed. I was so disappointed in myself. I would barely even go to social stuff. Like, it wasn't even I was fobbing off uni to go partying. I was literally just couldn't bring myself to do any of the work, and I felt shit about it because I wanted to do it. I just couldn't. Eventually, they gave me a period of mitigation, an intermission. So I would finish because I finished the first unit adequately, not amazingly, but adequately, and they would give me a year break, and then I would come back the following February to finish my first year. And I came back in February, and of course it's the same problems, you know, but this time I had a slightly different approach to it. Like, my approach was like, I just need to get through this year. And this whole time I've been thinking like, maybe it's the course, maybe I need to switch course. But every time I got close to making that decision, I'd change my mind. So I was like, I just need to get by this year. If I can scrape past this year, I can figure out what to do next year. What I would do for studying is I would go to somebody else's house and I would be there for as much as I could to study, or I would find someone to sit and study with. I would go to the library with someone. So I went to my friend's house and I had this project where I had to draw a layout for like a room, and I could not for the life of me figure out the perspective. I was just stumped, but I hadn't really tried, you know. I'd just been sort of sketching and I was like, this isn't working. And I was complaining about it so much, I was struggling with it so much. My friend grabbed the paper, ripped it out of my hands and went, right, sat down, told me to shut up and stop whining, and he drew, not like the actual drawing, but like the perspective grid for this particular view. And he threw it back at me and he was like, now you do it. For me, that was enough for me to get over the wall. Like, he wasn't doing the work for me, he just gave me that, like, because I was in a block, you know, I was really struggling with this, I had a deadline coming up for it, I hated doing it because it was taking so long and I couldn't understand the grid. Him doing the grid for me gave me the sort of like leg up to get over the wall, and I did the rest of it by myself. I passed first year and I got into second year. Second year was when I started spending more time with my boyfriend. This is important because we were friends, we were just friends then. He helped me through so much of the work I had to do. He was like my rock, essentially. You know, I had this routine, I built this routine for myself, like if you don't know what you have and you have to come up with methods of coping with it by yourself, you come up with mechanisms. And one of the things that I used to do was, because I was terrible at getting up in the morning, I would wake up and ring him. Or he would ring me to like wake me up and be like, you need to get out of bed. And sometimes he would then just go straight back to sleep. So somehow I got through second year. I think was a combination of him doing this and my other friends like pulling me through all-nighters and stuff like that. I didn't do amazing on that hand in, but I did it, you know, and for me that was enough because I struggled so much. Third year we had to make a film. My boyfriend had graduated, so he was doing his masters now. I started working on a friend's film. She is absolutely super, she's so lovely, but she was struggling with a lot of stuff too, and she said to me, would I mind taking over directing the film? And we kind of agreed to like co-direct it. And for me this was perfect because I really wanted to try directing, but the film that I proposed didn't get through. I just like lost my train of thought. It's like 5 p.m, my meds have worn off. Like that was doing so good. Yeah, so I started working as kind of like director on this film. We were co-directing it. And for me, this was the best motivation, the best coping mechanism I have ever experienced when I was figuring out how I was going to tackle these problems that I had because I didn't know what they were. And I would just basically say, like, someone would say to me, like, how are you doing so good directing this film and yet you can't hand in your work? And I'm like, because I'm doing it for someone else, you know? I care about her, I care about this film, I care about the people on this film, I care about this project. Like, I'm doing this, I'm not doing this for me, I'm doing this for them. And we had a producer who is one of my absolute best friends in the world. I love her. If she's watching this video, Bae, I love you. She was my prop for this, you know, she was my rock in this case. And anytime that I had a problem with the production, she would help me like figure out my way through it. So with the team of us, you know, working on this film, I was trying to keep communication channels open. I was doing my best, you know, like I was busting my ass for this, and it was so hard. And even then people were like, Katie's not in every day, Katie's late, you know, she comes in late. Like, I couldn't help it. I was trying, you know, but the thing that kept me going was everybody else was relying on me to do this. And this is the thing with ADHD, right? More outside motivation, the more you can take that accountability and give it to somebody else, the better. We did it, and it was done, and it almost got axed like 3 or 4 times. So I was really proud of the whole team for doing that. And I was proud of myself, you know, like, against the odds. We managed to do it. Anyway, so graduated uni, I got a 2-1, which is like, pretty much most people get 2-1, I think. It's like 1 down from a first, which is the highest one that you can get. And this was mostly, I think, because I stepped up and managed the team. So they were like, you know, the work that I submitted was alright, it wasn't great. I graduated uni with my 2-1, and then my boyfriend got a job working for his friend slash senior at uni colleague person who was starting a business. He was that, like, they were doing a project together. So we ended up moving in together with our other friend in a flat, and I started working part-time at a department store. And working at this particular department store, it was so nice, you know, like the job was nice, but I was struggling because I would spend hours on my shift standing at the till doing nothing. The best shifts I had were the ones where they gave me a lot of responsibility. They were the ones that were like, they would get me to like train new staff. If they didn't give me a lot of responsibility, if they just made me stand at the till for hours on end, I was depressed. I got so depressed that I caught shingles because I had this rash like on my lower back, and I didn't know what it was, and it was very sensitive, but it wasn't itchy and it didn't hurt. I went to the doctor and she said, yeah honey, that's shingles. And I was like, shingles? And she said, have you had a period of stress recently? And I was like, well yeah, I mean a couple weeks ago I had like a fortnight where I was just like so depressed. And I think it was around this time that I filmed my Slenderman videos, because I ended up with like 2 weeks of work with shingles. I was really depressed working at that place, and you know, the job itself, didn't have a problem with it. It was me, like my issue was with my ADHD, but I didn't know that's what it was at the time. My friend, he would sit down and talk with me a lot, and I would try to explain to him like I can only really do things, like I can only really do the work if I feel like someone else is counting on me. So sometimes we would do like art trades and stuff just to give me some outside accountability for getting work done. I would try to find, he kept trying to push me to find freelance work, but I didn't trust myself to get it done. I would be watching the guys do their work and just thinking like, why can't I do this? Like, why do I struggle so much to sit down and just like work? I did do some freelance work when I moved back, because we left that flat after a while. My boyfriend ended up moving to Ireland. I went home for a little while to live with my mum, and I saw them doing all this cool stuff with their lives, and I was just sat at home like not working because I didn't know when I was going to be moving out to join my boyfriend. I wanted to do something, but I didn't know what. I had a billion different things I wanted to do, but I couldn't decide on any of them. I didn't have a calling yet. I didn't know what I wanted to do. I had a lot of things I wanted to try to do, but I didn't have the faith in myself because I had so much learned helplessness at this point. I didn't believe I could do anything. I didn't believe I was cut out for work. I didn't even think I was really cut out for life. Like, I thought this is just what I'm going to do. I'm just going to be stuck at home for the rest of my life, you know, not achieving any of my dreams. I ended up moving out to Ireland after some stuff with my family kind of like calmed down, and I think I don't really know what made me make the decision in the end, but I think I had kind of decided that it was time. I sent all my stuff in boxes, and my boyfriend had to like take each one home with him. Eventually I did move out here. I ended up not working, and I felt so inadequate. I felt useless. I didn't know what I wanted to do. I would do everything in the house to try and make up for the fact that I wasn't working, so I would literally clean all day. I would not buy anything for myself because I just felt like it wasn't my money, so I was like, I want to get a job, like a part-time job or something. But he kept saying, well, you should be working on your art, you should be working on your portfolio, and then you can apply to like do art, you know? But I didn't have the wherewithal to do it. I was really struggling. Eventually I had my portfolio, and they had I'd seen some job opportunities and stuff, so I sent off for some jobs. I didn't get them, and this is probably one of my lowest moments ever. And I haven't really talked about this to most people because I think that it's not something that, it's not nice. So I felt thoroughly rejected. I was heartbroken. And I hurt myself pretty badly. Not really badly, but worse than I had before, you know. It took me a few days to recover from that. Not physically, I mean like emotionally. I just felt like I'd failed again. I'd failed again. I failed my whole life. Everything I've tried to do has ended in failure. And here I am, finally felt like I got it, failed again. What is the point? Why am I bothering? During those couple weeks, I was browsing online and I found something on Tumblr, and this was October, which is ADHD Awareness Month. I saw a post and it said some anecdotal comments about living with ADHD, and I was reading these and I thought, okay, this is a bit too me. this is like, they didn't even look into my life, like they looked into my soul and they saw everything that I am and they made it into a little anecdotal Tumblr post, and I was like, this is worth investigating. So I went down the rabbit hole. I did not stop. I was researching everything. I went through like every bit of information that I could find online. I watched all of How to ADHD's videos. I cried. I cried 8 times. 8 different occurrences, because I finally felt like something made sense. This is why I struggle so much. This is why everything that they're saying, all of these videos, this is exactly what I'm going through. And it wasn't even like someone had opened a door or a window. It was like the entire house folded down and suddenly I could see the whole world. And I was like, oh, this is a bigger mess than I realized. But someone had put a broom in my hand and I could start cleaning, and I did. I used every organizational like tip that I could think of, everything that was like, you know, write stuff down. I was so excited. I told everybody, I was like, I think I have ADHD. Someone would message me and I'd like move the conversation to, I think I have ADHD. And they'd be like, really? Okay. I got diaries. I joined a Discord, which is run by Diagnose, who is on here on YouTube under the name of the ABCs of ADHD. I'll put a link to his content. It's really good. He's very informed, and he's also, he does a lot of research and stuff. Like, I'm here just rambling, but this dude knows his stuff, so thank you, Downless. You helped me, boy. So yeah, I joined the Discord. I made so many friends on there. They're amazing. Like, because I was in a space where I could be like, well, just walk through a doorway and forgot what I was doing in here again, and they'd be like, Lamau, me too, me too, bitch, don't worry. So you kind of feel like, oh my god, not only have I found my people, but I found people who have this and they want to do something about it. You know, they want to fix it. They have dreams, they have life, they have goals. They want to go for them. So because I had all of these organizational methods in place, I started to be able to manage my life a little bit better. Christmas was so much more organized this year. I'd written down everything that I wanted to get everyone, who I was going to be giving presents to, who I was going to be giving cards to, planned all my travel. Travel is so much easier. I just Google, like, just everything that can help you. I Google an itinerary of what to pack. I make a list of it, I add my own shit, and then I just like go through methodically ticking off everything once I pack it. It's in the bag, tick. It's in the bag, tick. You do not think, I'll remember to tick that later. No, you won't. Tick it now, you know, put it in the bag, tick it. And this was like how I treated everything, right? I was just like, I need to make sure that I am getting my working memory on paper, because they don't exist up here. We don't have it. So I went home for Christmas. I think I had an appointment with a GP around that time, and I think I'll do a whole video on like getting a diagnosis, but I'd written down everything that I wanted to talk to her about. I sat down with her and I explained everything. I bawled my fucking eyes out in this consultation with this GP. I was actually crying because of how happy I was that I'd found all of these solutions. I went and I spoke to the consultant in the mental health department. He ran through a whole bunch of questions, and when we were talking about the actual presence of ADHD, he was like, yeah, it seems like you pretty much, that you have it, you know, and you said that the coping mechanisms and stuff help you, so why don't you try out some medication? I've been taking Concerta XL, it's Ritalin. I've been taking 18 milligrams ever since. The medication for me, it might be different for you, but for me it was a game changer. And they liken it to putting on glasses, but I don't. I liken it to waking up from a dream. Like, when you're in a dream, you think you're awake, but when you wake up, you're like, oh, no, I'm actually awake. Like, for me, this is what medication is like. So, all of a sudden, I realized that doing things is suddenly not a problem. I'm like, I can just do it. So today, for example, I had to ring my mum. And like, if I haven't taken my medication, it's not that I don't want to ring her, it's just that it will take me ages to build up to this. But when I'm on my medication, I can just pick up the phone, done. My anxiety is reduced enormously. I feel confident. I'm still shy, I'm still anxious and nervous, but I feel confident that I can trust myself to get things done. So that was a huge improvement. on my day-to-day life. So I had my diagnosis, I tried out my medication, they were working, and I got an offer for a job. Okay, sorry the lighting's not amazing, it's kind of getting dark, so I'll just finish up. So I got an offer for a job, and it was a full-time job, and I'd never done that before. I'd never trusted myself to be able to do that before, but I had the medication now, I had the coping mechanisms, and I basically said, okay, I'll give it a shot. I had to be honest with my employers about my ADHD, because I wanted them to understand how it could affect me, and they were really cool about it. It's not always recommended that you reveal to your employers that you struggle with this, because obviously there's a lot of stigma around it, so do use a bit of discretion when you're deciding whether or not you want to reveal that information. I got the job. The first month or something, to be honest, I haven't really had a problem with my full-time job. It's been challenging in some places, especially when it comes to getting work in on time, you know, when work is due. Also, getting to work on time I find very difficult, but I have a lot of coping mechanisms. I'll probably make a lot of videos about my various coping mechanisms and how I do it. This is something that I believed that I would never be able to do, but I've done it, and I can say that I can do it. And it took 25 years and little pills and a lot of friends and a lot of coping mechanisms for me to get to this point where I could say, yeah, I can do this. I'm worth doing this. You know, I can do this for me. And I'm in a better place now than I ever have been in my whole life. Like, by far, like, this doesn't even compare. I think what I would like to say about it is I kind of wish that I'd found it sooner, but in some other ways, maybe not, because my life wouldn't have gone the direction that it's gone to get me to where I am now if I had been diagnosed sooner. Do I think that it's a good idea to get diagnosed as early as possible? Yes, absolutely. If you suspect that you have ADHD, please look into it, find the information that you need, and go to your psychiatrist. Speak to them about it. Use the coping mechanisms, because even if you don't get the medication, or you can't get the medication because at some places it's expensive, like I understand, the coping mechanisms, the manual ones that you can use, they helped me enormously before I could get the medication. It's not easy. It's not easy. Like, you have to glue yourself to your diary. It has to become your best friend. Like, think of it as an extension of your brain. It has to be there all the time. And you have to use it. It's where you have to train yourself to use it. Like, you have to train yourself to get into these habits. But it's doable, you know? Like, I guess in some cases, in some instances, if we're talking purely about overcoming not being able to do things and then getting to a point where you can do them without worrying too much, overthinking that you can't, I'm a success story in that case, right? And I'm so proud of myself. I'm so proud of how I've gotten to this point through my own merit. You know, I've really pushed myself. I'm so grateful for the internet as well. I can just Google like coping with ADHD, and then you just get like 5 billion results and videos and tutorials and bujos and everything, you know, so I'm really lucky. How my life is different from before I was diagnosed to after I was diagnosed. I feel like a different person. Before my diagnosis, I was miserable, I was depressed, I was suicidal, I didn't know who I was, what I was doing. I had so many dreams that I could not accomplish no matter how hard I tried. I felt worthless, like totally worthless. I felt like it didn't matter how hard I tried, I would never get anywhere anyway, so what's the point? After my diagnosis, totally different person. I'm driven, I'm ambitious, I'm grateful. Turns out I'm a type A, not a type B. I've had a lot of people who've said to me, like, you inspire me to push myself. Like, my friend said to me, I've never known someone to make so much effort towards self-improvement in as short a time as you have. And it's not like, you know, no one's noticed like, oh, you have ADHD now, or you seem different. Like, no, they always known me to be like this. Like, everyone around me has known me before my diagnosis and after my diagnosis. They didn't see a difference, but I felt a difference. And what they've seen is me becoming someone who's more organized, who's more on time. I'm better at getting things done than I was before, but more than that, I'm better at knowing that I can get them done. I'm much more confident in myself. People said to me, they noticed that I was happier. This was the hugest thing. They were like, you're so much happier. They could just see that. My diagnosis changed my life, and like, there's a lot of stigma about medication, right? They say that it turns kids into zombies. If only I'd been allowed to be a zombie. If only I'd been allowed to have that medication. Like, I could have graduated school with straight A's. I could have not attempted to take my life on a couple of occasions. Who I was before my diagnosis and who I am after it, they're the same person trapped in the house, but one of them can leave. It's not that I've changed, it's that my perception of where I am has changed. I'm just really grateful. And I have made it my new philosophy that I want to be surrounded by and inspired by people who are grateful and people who are ambitious. And I think that these two things, and it doesn't matter what you're ambitious about, and it doesn't matter what you're grateful about, but these two things I think are really important. And if you're like sort of stuck in a slump or something like that, like, start thinking about what you need to get out of it, where you need to go next. For me, the reason why I got anywhere was because I got lucky and found the answers. So start searching for the answers. Okay, it's getting late. I'm gonna go. I hope this video has been somewhat helpful, somewhat informative. I hope that you are able to get your diagnosis if that's what you're waiting for. Thank you again for watching. I hope to catch you in my next video. Stay grateful and ambitious, and I will see you next time. Bye!